What's going on, it's Justeeni, and today we're looking at the beta that dropped. As of recording, it's today, but I think it's been about 12 hours since the beta dropped. Oh my goodness. There's a lot of good. I'd say a lot of good. There's some things that I hope will be adjusted in the beta. I've had some time to test some things. Other people have tested some things, and I know this is just the first day, but there's some interesting things, but let's just get right into things. So first off, starting stars of tribes got changed. You see this, guys? Somebody pinch me, I'm dreaming. This is the best thing ever. Now, IMO starting with Philo instead of meditation is interesting, but it's actually shockingly strong. I wouldn't be surprised if IMO got a starting star nerf. There's actually been not a single starting star nerf. They might actually need one. Philosophy, as it turns out, is not only a strong starting tech, but maybe better than starting with an economy tech. It's very good. And Chinchi starting with 7, all the starting with 7 instead of 5, all these are just nice changes to see. Hoderick is now actually competing with Barter. Omaji is just that little bit better. I've seen a lot of people that actually don't like this change. Omaji definitely needs the buff. Yes, they're good on dry lanes and Pangea, but on lakes and continents, they don't even compare to turn zeros. It's just not even close. So they definitely could use the help. And that one extra starting star does make a difference. There's some openings that it helps with. So don't knock that 1 star. With Quetzali, also speeds him up. With Yadok, I have not done the math on this one. I haven't really tested it. I think the best way to play them is just you level up your capital on turn 2, train a warrior turn 0. Don't even do a road opening, and then just, use roads later, because roads is good. Looks that are also interesting to see extra starting stars, and starting with 3 fruit. They used to have 2 animals. I think the reason why they chose fruit instead of just, go to 3 animals, is because if you have 3 animals, you also have 3 forests, which I do agree with this decision, because 3 fruit means you're not always going into org farming versus 3 animals. There's not much reason to not go into just hunting, then forestry math to get a giant on your capital every time. Then Illyrian Polytars got nerfed. Sanctuaries didn't get nerfed, interestingly, but this is the first version of the beta. There's already a ton of changes here, so you can't expect everything. And then some other ones, researching backwards. Now this is interesting because I think the reason why this hasn't been done is because of Vengir, but now Vengir and IMO both benefited because of the IMO rework. And I'll just say, there's also some other changes. You might notice the Forge change. Vengir, unironically, is nuts. I'm dead serious. I'm going to show you a replay after to show you what I really mean. So Vengir can research mining, go backwards. Also not mentioned in the patch notes, but this is a thing that happened. Vengir starts with 2 guaranteed mines, just like Chinchi. And Smithery and Forges got buffed to be twice as good with markets. That's basically what all this means. And they're buildable on forests and mountains, which means they're consistent. No longer do Forges, sometimes you just can't build them at all until you get forestry, or a mountain blocks it, which is super annoying. However, they still cost 5 stars. If you have 2 mines and a forge, that's 8 population for 15 stars, which is an extremely good rate, as it turns out. I don't think it's actually possible for any other building to do better. So forges might actually need a nerf, which is really weird to say. Currently in the public version, forges are on the weak side, if anything, but with these changes, forges become kind of scary. And Vengir especially can take advantage of these, starting with Smithery. They don't even have an increased starting star amount. You would think Vengir's still F tier, but no. Temple buff. I will do some perfection for the content. I gotta milk everything from this update. I will do a perfection just to show you how that will work. Burn Forest is cheaper. Embassy, I believe how it works is they start at 4 stars and they scale by 2 per embassy placed, which is nothing. Let's be honest. If you place 2 embassies Now your next one is 10 stars. Oh, that's twice as expensive as an embassy currently. Yes, but you've also... Actually, no, if you place... Yeah, if you place down 2, it's 10 stars. No, if you place 1, it's 6. You would have to place 3 for it to be 10 stars. And if you place 3 embassies and you're allied with all those people, you have 12 star per turn off of embassies alone. That scaling isn't nearly enough, so this is definitely something I'd change. Forges might need some changing. Backwards research? I don't know if backwards research is so much the problem, so much as the fact that Vengir got a shadow buff with starting with 2 mines. I feel like that might be the actual issue, because then it makes them play identically to Jinchi. Before they had guaranteed animals, which doesn't make them play like Jinchi most of the time. So I wonder if that's really the issue. Yeah, so Burn Forest changed. Max level for markets is now 6 instead of 8, which a lot of people were like, yo, does this nerf Zabasti Filler Rush? No, it doesn't. This basically doesn't affect it in, I'd say 90% of cases. And in the 10% of cases it does affect it, it's maybe a, like, 5 to 15% nerf. This seems like a 25% nerf though, right? Markets are 25% less effective. But they're not, because it's only the max level that's reduced. It's only if you get a market to level 7 or 8 that this change will even affect the market. So this affects the new forges, makes it a lot harder to, well, it makes it so then you can't get level 8 markets super easily with forge markets, and it also affects sawmill markets, especially with Hoodrick, kind of toning out those in general. My thoughts on this? Like, kind of at a first glance, and with some playtesting, it's not enough. I think if you're going to make markets produce noticeably less economy, the maximum level has to be 5, maybe even 4. And maybe even in addition to that, you might have to increase the cost of markets, or maybe limit how many you can actually get, because they can kind of just grow out of control. Like, they only cost 5 stars to place a market, and if you have like 50 star per turn, it's kind of easy to afford. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. Again, it's been 12 hours of playtesting so far, so my thoughts might change. They probably will, because there's only so much that you can get right at a glance. Now, Symanti rework, I have not played with the Symanti very much. I've played against it a little bit. I've seen a little bit of it. It seems interesting. I'm not too concerned about the special tribes. I don't tend to play them very much. But yeah, Symanti rework. So the Boomji, I don't remember the stats, but basically it's just meant to spread algae and fungi on water, because algae work differently. You can see there's like fruit and fungi. You can build stuff on the algae. It's kind of interesting. Makes Symanti like pretty strong on the water in some ways. Like, normal tribes are still pretty limited in what they can do in the water. Really, the only strong thing that normal tribes have in the water is like aquatism and bombers. So then they've got like really strong defender rammers as well, which Symanti is also kind of getting a bomber replacement / juggernaut replacement in the form of a living island. So actually, I do know the stats of this one. It's the same stats as the Juggernaut, I think verbatim. It even has Splash and Stiff. It's got 4 attack, 4 defense, and has static, so it can't promote, but it has 20 HP instead of 40, so half the HP, and it costs 20 stars, and it also makes algae, like when it moves around. That's what the algae ability is. It's kind of interesting. I haven't really been able to mess around with it, but I mean, it gives Symanti some late game power. It's 20 stars though, which is absurdly expensive though. And you also see Symanti Clathrus are reworked, but they might actually be a little weaker. I would imagine that would change in the future, but yeah, so algae now is just a tile feature. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, you can make mycelium, which is actually really strong to be able to just slap down to help with naval combat. It's kind of an anti-bomber sort of option if you think about that. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens to Symanti naval. But one thing that I do worry about this is like normal tribes naval hasn't really been changed at all. So like, is this going to be too much? Too little? just the right amount. I don't know. But then the really interesting one is fungi now start at level 0, and if you stomp on a fungi, then it decreases the level. Now, stepping on the fungi, if the fungi is max level, it basically doesn't affect it unless you step on it multiple times in a turn. Because if you step on it once, it's just going to get the population right back. I guess actually that can matter in some circumstances. Like if you stomp on the fungi and it causes Same City to go in the red, then they lose a star per turn, then they get the population back. So that can matter in probably more instances than I'm giving it credit for. So this is a pretty significant nerf to fungi. Starting at level 0 means Same is an entire turn behind, if not more in the long term. So this slows them down a ton. Like early centipedes are pretty much no more unless you get a pop ruin. And even like a level 3 city that Same usually gets really quickly, it takes a good amount of time. I think like turn 5 now to get that going. And you train your warrior still on turn 1, I believe. But turn 0 warrior opening is basically unplayable now. And I don't even know if double warrior opening is good. Like it really, really slows down Same, but they kind of needed that at the same time. They started with the shaman already, so fungi didn't need this nerf. Same explorers can now move on. Thank goodness. They can move on water. Now just fix it with Polaris too, please. Like, it's so annoying with Same where your explorers just are unusable in Urki. Now, this one's also interesting. Units with explode can attack and then explode. Dumux buff. It's a pretty big buff too, because you can attack into a position that allows you to explode better, or just attack and then explode. It makes your expendable explosive units that much stronger, which will make Same endgame really powerful. I worry that Dumux are kind of just going to be like the de facto. I think I've seen like one replay of Same late game. I haven't actually tried it myself, and Dumux are strong. Even for their cost of 10 stars, they actually like are useful and like quite powerful. Now the other change that affects Same early game a lot is Hexapod attack. Now, just a 0.5 attack nerf. Not a big deal, right? Just means that unboosted hexapods have the same attack as a boosted hexapod, or a boosted hexapod has the same attack as a boosted hexapod, or unboosted hexapod previously would have had. So like, you boost a 2.5 attack hexapod, it's 3 attack, which does affect some things, because if you guys don't know already, unboosted hexapods are kind of bad, like quite bad. Not just like they only have 2 movement, but this is something that I think a lot of people don't think about. And like, this is why boosted hexapods suck so much. It's not that they lack attack or they lack movement, that the shaman kind of, it's the fact that they die on retaliation because of their HP. So right now, if you were to boost a 2.5 attack hexapod to 3 attack, and you attack a warrior with a defense bonus, so a warrior on a city, on a mountain, or if they have archery, then a warrior on a forest, hexapod dies. Which means it's a negative trade, guaranteed as long as the warrior has full HP. Every single time, which means that archery seems really good against Same. Also, archers and riders with a defense boost do not get one-shot by boosted hexapods anymore. So this is a pretty huge nerf to hexapods. It's going to force Same to diversify how they play. It's interesting to see Faichi did not get much of a buff. Poison did get buffs to slow down units, which is a very welcome buff. But Faichi themselves didn't get a direct buff beyond the poison buff. So hexapods got nerfed, but they don't have any extra versatility to make up for it, because before, like, Same lacks a bit of versatility, they just go hexapods into Ketons and cloaks and centipedes every time. But now that there are options, like early centipedes are nerfed because their eco's worse, hexapods are nerfed. But where's those other options for land combat? They have extra options for water, but not for land. So maybe we'll see some extra options in future updates, but with both of these nerfs, the fungi and the hexapod nerf, it kind of just screws Same over. Now, Clathers is a land building now, kind of like the market. It's kind of a pseudo market, but it grows from fungi instead of like building levels, which is really, really slow. It's very hard to get like more than 2 fungi unless you explode your own units to upgrade the Clathrus, which takes a lot of time and is expensive, and it just makes Clathrus miles worse than markets. Like maybe there's some niche instances where the Clathrus can actually be as good or better than a market, but it's very rare. So I would imagine Clathrus will need some sort of buff to kind of make them relevant, to kind of help fund Saimanti's endgame. Because it looks like their late game is much stronger. They don't have like a persist unit. I think that's a good thing though, because like a lot of their other units have become noticeably stronger. So they'll still struggle against like cloaks. Against mindbenders, they'll, I think, still struggle a little bit. And against swords, I guess Dumux can kind of solve a lot of problems now though with the whole attack and explode. So I'm not sure. Boomchi and Reichi given the crawl ability. This is super nice. So now you don't need your city to be a coastal city to be able to spawn Reichi. You can spawn them on any city and then they can make their way to the water. So like if your city is landlocked but just a tile away from the water, you can make a Reichi and then slowly bring it to the water, so then you know you can actually, you're not just like screwed by RNG sometimes and just not able to make enough fungi or make enough Reichi, which is really nice. Now Polaris also got some changes. This is like the last of it. This is a really long video. So Glide now just provides +1 movement instead of double. I think that's a good change. It was kind of nutty. And then Skid is also changed similarly. Makes sense. Ice Fortress has escape and static. Static was actually surprisingly decent nerf, I feel like, because getting a veteran Ice Fortress was like the one good thing about it. They have escape. I haven't used Ice Fortresses, but I question how useful escape is actually going to be. It doesn't work on land, of course, because that's how skate units work. Their other abilities don't work on land. So this only applies for naval combat, and like when are you using escape with the Ice Fortress? Like you need a unit to be in range, and then you also need to like move away afterwards. I don't know. Ice Fortress now have 1 attack. That's a nice buff. But now, an interesting nerf. Attacking a frozen unit will unfreeze that unit. So now freezing is disruptive, but not outright like crippling. Like if you freeze a giant with a Mooney or something, you can unfreeze it with like a Rider or something. I feel like Rider spam is just going to become even better against Polaris, because you can use your Riders to just unfreeze your own units super easily. And I guess it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but that seems like a pretty big nerf, and Polaris only got really 1 buff and 1 rework, and then a couple other nerfs to make up for that, so I don't know. I mean, they did need some nerfs, but I don't know how good they'll be at land combat. They're already kind of lackluster there, but now even more so with freeze being next to useless for land combat. Though, like, early Moonies will be much less devastating, which is nice, I suppose. But yeah, this is all the beta notes. Now I'm just going to show you, again, Vengir, kind of nutty. I'm going to go through this super quickly. So we've got Vengir. You can see 2 guaranteed mines. I'm just going to kind of go along here. This was just a game that I played against Tolby using Saimanti. I did get a little lucky. I got a resource run, and then I got another one. I was slow to expand though, so yeah, but I mean, I also got turn 10 markets, so we got a nice 27 star per turn on turn 10, which if it weren't for the resource ruins, maybe it would have been turn 11 we get to this point. But then our eco just kind of, you can kind of see the power of Forge market, really good, and like you don't have to buy a whole lot of techs to do that with Vengir. Like this is the timeline we live in, guys. You can actually just do this with Vengir now. I don't even know what to think. I would imagine this is going to get nerfed. It's actually disgusting. But hope you guys enjoyed. Like and sub. And have a good one.